How we see. The world is full of people. We all see differently. Only 5% of blind people actually read Braille. Only 4% of people with severe sight loss can see nothing. 75% of registered blind people are over the age of 65. Only 90 to 100 people in Northern Ireland have a guide dog. TV is something most blind people want to watch. Audio description is available for them. Only 25% of visually impaired people have paid employment in Northern Ireland, and 33% in the entire UK. Only 7% of books are available in alternative formats for visually impaired people. There are 2 million people in the UK who have a serious seeing difficulty. 1,556,000 in England, 155,000 in Scotland, 98,000 in Wales, and there are 46,000 people in Northern Ireland with a serious sight loss. 1 in 5 people will experience severe sight loss by the age of 75.
Let's talk through what actually happens in an assessment. And whenever, I'm doing things or asking questions or lifting bits of equipment or putting drops in or whatever, what exactly am I doing when I'm doing these things and why do they need to be done? And the point of Sarah being here and Rosalind being here at the front with me is I thought a useful conversation would be about, what is going through the child's mind. If Rosalind can remember back to whenever she was there as a fairly little one to start with and then worked your way up through the clinic. And why did I keep bringing her back every 6 months for 20 years or whatever? And on the other hand, what's going through mum and dad's head, as I'm holding a child down and putting drops in or whatever aspect of it. So as I talk about a presentation, think about it, there are probably about 6 or 7 steps to it. So just for sort of backdrop, I've got broken these down into slides. So the first thing is really first impressions, okay? So for me, when I meet you with your child for the first time, it's what are the first impressions that I'm getting? And also, I'm very conscious of the fact that what are the first impressions that you're getting? Because I know lots of times, you may have seen 3 or 4, I used to say 3 or 4 white coats, but I think nobody wears white coats anymore, but 3 or 4 docs or clinicians, and they seem to be doing some of the same things, and you're saying, well, how come we need to see so many people doing the same thing again and again? So when I'm getting the first impressions, there are things like diagnosis and visual functions. So I might have got a letter from a general ophthalmologist or a letter from a pediatrician with some note in it about visual functions and what level of vision they expect. Not so much when children with albinism are referred to me, but often children who have cortical visual impairment, if they're referred, quite often the referring source has no idea really what level of vision there is. What the diagnosis is, sometimes it's straightforward, sometimes it's more complicated. I think as I'm looking at notes and looking at the information that's coming into me, one of the things that I'm particularly interested in relation to albinism is, how much is oculocutaneous albinism or skin and hair and eyes, and how much is just ocular, just eye albinism. So in terms of vision, and let's just finish on this here. So there are 3 aspects of vision really. There's colour vision as well, but there's how good is the eye at resolving detail, and that's why we do use tests like this. Okay, and as I think Sarah and Ruth were commenting, we want to push the child as far as they can with the best glasses so that we know what their potential potential is, what their threshold value, their resolution value is. We never want them to be doing tasks at that level. We want to go 3 times bigger than that for comfort, but we need to know what that is. Otherwise, it's all guesswork as to what we're deciding as what should be the usual thing. And we've been measuring this since the days of Herman Snellen, like 120 or 30 years ago. But this here is much more about everyday life. And it's probably only in the last 5-7 years we've been routinely measuring contrast. Because as I look at you and you look back, and I'm trying to work out, are you bored and frowning, or are you with me and smiling? It's not the high contrast features that are telling me that. It's the lines in your cheeks and your face that are telling me that. And those are low contrast tasks. And as I show this to Sarah here, as I show that, I can tell immediately from looking at Sarah's eyes whether she sees the target. Because instantaneously as the target appears, if Sarah can see it, the brain draws your attention to the target. No matter how hard you're trying to think, I'm going to confuse this person, I'm going to look at the non-target, the brain won't do it. The brain will look at the thing and say, oh, what's interesting there, and then change quickly. So those are contrast tests, and the other are visual fields. And whenever the child is really wee, this is the field test I'm using, okay? To measure can Sarah see out here whenever she's looking at me. And usually the way I do that is, I sit here and I've got the nurse behind Sarah bringing it round. And once again, even if you're sitting there thinking, I am not going to look at anything out here, I'm not, as soon as something, gone, yeah. And it's a matter of me looking at Sarah's eyes and saying, right, yes, she's moved, I know she's seen it out there.